First of all, Nicky, thank you very much for joining us on ORRJO Unscripted. Appreciate you joining us and the time. Could you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you come from?
Yes, still a black for those who don't know. My name is Nicky Brown, hence the Scouse connotation here, and I am from Liverpool, but live in Scotland.
Nice, nice. What brought you to Scotland?
I used to have a corporate life prior to doing what I do now, and it was actually Apple that asked me to relocate here short term, and then fell in love with Scotland, and I'm still here 8 years later.
Was it the weather that brought you here, or?
Yes.
It's probably not actually too dissimilar to Liverpool, I wouldn't have thought, is it? Or
no, it isn't. But definitely the people are really similar to Scousers.
Yeah.
My first visit here, I was walking down a street in the city centre and I must have looked lost. And two builders stopped and they were like, "You're all right, love? Do you need some help?" He probably called me hen rather than love. "You want some help?" And I was like, I could live here because it's the kindness of people.
It's the same, yeah. Nice.
Totally.
Nice. So look, it would be amazing if you could tell us a little bit about kind of your early life. Obviously we know you grew up in Liverpool, but can you tell me a little bit about, before your career at Apple and different things? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm born and bred from Liverpool, as you know, raised by my dad, unusual in the 80s.
Nice.
He raised myself, my brother and my sister. And early days, I was a dancer and absolutely loved dance.
What kind of dance?
All sorts of different dancing, and won many competitions. There's something you don't know about me. Could have gone on tour with Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yeah. Whole different life I could have had.
Wow.
But had to stop actually because my dad didn't have enough money at the time to keep the hobby going. So it was sad, but a necessity and a real life.
Yeah, fair.
But actually my dad then started his own business when I was 10, after being a fire chief for many years. And cool. I was his first unofficial employee. He taught me about sales, he taught me about business, he taught me about people, most importantly, and how, if you wanted to have great profit, take care of your people because your people take care of your profit. Yeah. So it was a really fun time, even from 10 years old, learning about business. And I've always studied human behavior and business and the blend between the two of them. Went off to uni, studied business studies with people combined. And then...
Was that still in Liverpool, or did you...
Yeah, I was still a home bird. Then moved to London and then started to live internationally. I've lived in many different countries, including Mexico, really different cultures. Mm-hmm. And then worked for big brands like Nike and Apple for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then started Coach to Grow 3 years ago.
Wow. And so obviously, like, we're hearing some of the big names like Apple, Nike, Coach to Grow, obviously, which is your current business.
The biggest brands of all.
100%. What I'd be keen to can hear a little bit about is, some of your early jobs, like, whether it's part-time, when you were at school or at uni and stuff. Like, talk me through some of that. What did you do?
Really interesting. So I've worked in a hair salon, washing hair. I've worked in a fish and chip shop for many years.
Nice.
Wouldn't have expected
Unreal.
that. Absolutely loved that job. I've worked in a pub for a couple of years. You can see a lot of my jobs are always around connection with people, right?
Yeah.
And then I worked in a couple of retail stores. But actually and then I went straight into, from uni, my first job was in leadership.
Okay. Oh, straight into leadership?
Yeah, I did like a graduate program learning leadership with Gap.
Oh,
and I absolutely loved it.
Brilliant. And did you travel quite a lot with Gap?
No, I didn't actually. I was based in London, so I did a lot of travel in London, and then I relocated back to Liverpool, then went back to London. But it wasn't until I joined Nike that more travel came, and then from there I some personal travel, and then with Apple.
Yeah, nice. So if we kind of move towards where we are now, like, I'd love to hear a bit more about, obviously I know your business very well, but for those that don't yet know your business well, Coach to Grow, could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I can. Well, my mission is, I'm on a mission to make 100,000 people happier. And happiness is really distinct and unique to the individual that you're serving. So I work with business owners, I work in corporate, but I also work in sport. I don't teach sport. I just want to clarify that. That would be horrendous. I do off the pitch or off the field. So I work with athletes, I work with managers, and I work with teams. So I founded this because I love leadership and I'm a leadership expert. I've studied it, like I've said, since I was 10. But I became obsessed with, and I've always been obsessed with human behavior as well. But actually, I became really obsessed with knowing we can have the same skill one day, but the next day, depending on how we're feeling, whether it's emotionally or mentally, we don't have the same capacity.
Yeah.
Actually, all of that can be completely rewired. So I really started to study the mind and neuroscience and emotional capacity and blended those two things together. And I get real fulfillment based on helping others. And that's what I believe I was put on this earth to do. I'll tell you a very quick story. Actually, when I was little, my dad asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I think I was about 8 at the time. I said I wanted to be a duck, as in an animal. I think he was a little bit worried about me. And then fast forward a couple of years later, and he asked me again. And I said, I want to make the world kinder. That was my answer. Never knew what job title. And I feel like I'm getting to do that in this job. And it doesn't feel like work. So I feel like I'm really connected to my superpowers and my gift.
Yeah.
And I do something that only I can do. But actually the impact that is created off the back of it, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And every single person deserves to be in their own version of this. So I feel blessed to call what I do a job.
Do you think that's possible?
Yes. Yeah. Why do you? Well, I'm curious. Do you not?
It's not that I don't. It's more that I think. Even actually, I was listening to another podcast actually over the last few days because it was a longer one, and there was a real feeling that lots of things aren't possible for everyone, and maybe there's definitely probably some elements of truth to that for sure. I think we're often a phenomenal advantage being born and brought up in the UK and different things. So there's huge things that we have going for us already. But I was just keen to understand, like, if you do think some of these things are possible for everyone.
Yeah.
Does it just look different? Do you mean, is that maybe what it is?
Like not everybody's here to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But I feel that we've all been blessed with unique skills and talents and superpowers, and how we bring that to the world is possible, because it doesn't always have to look from a career perspective either. You know, somebody could feel their gift for this planet is to be an amazing mom and being that nurturing human, then goes on to create, you know, like what that equates to. So it doesn't always have to be entrepreneurship, or it looks so different for everybody, but it's being so aware and so grounded in who you are and what only you can bring, and then letting the world feel the benefit of that, whatever your world looks like. And then the impact of that is we all do our part in leaving the world better.
I think that's true. I think the traditional metrics that people go by is like, you know, income, net worth, whatever it might be. And I think when you break it down to that, I think it's then, but then that's clearly just like one part of it and one component. But some people are just so not bothered by that stuff, which probably in a lot of ways is really good, and probably people find a lot more peace rather than chasing money or fame or whatever it might be. So I think that's probably the valid point around that everyone's why or everyone's, you know, superpower is different and should be different. It shouldn't be one course or one journey of success or whatever you would maybe deem it as. And so in terms of, obviously you clearly enjoy what you do, which is obviously fantastic. Is there anything in particular, if you think about like one part of that you're like, if I do this bit every day, it's just like unbelievable, you know, you're never working type of thing? It's just that this one thing, is there anything in particular that comes to mind?
Yeah, easily. Being with my clients is, and whatever capacity that looks like, if I'm doing a team workshop on a football field, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's a phone call, if I could do that every hour and never do anything else outside of that, then I'm happy. And obviously that's not the full picture. There's a lot of other bits that go to running a full business. But I could do 18 hours of calls every day and love every single minute of it, and never get to a point where I feel like, or meetings, and feel like, oh, I've had enough.
Yeah.
I could do it
So interesting.
all day, every day.
Yeah. And then on the flip of that, like, what do you not like?
Admin.
Ditto.
Yeah, but you know what? I've learned that, again, there's people on this planet that absolutely love admin.
Yeah.
And to be successful, I get to create a job opportunity for somebody that keeps me doing what I love and what only I can do. And they enhance me by doing the stuff that they love, that I hate to do, that drains my energy. And that's sometimes where entrepreneurs can fall down, is they keep doing it all themselves, where actually what does that cost you to spend your time in the stuff that drains you? Now, I don't believe you can get rid of absolutely everything on that list, but you can get rid of 80% of it. So I love that I've got people that do the majority of that for me.
So one of the skills that I feel that you are able to develop pretty quickly if you're a strong leader in the corporate setting is the ability to delegate effectively. And I think as an entrepreneur, having that skill set becomes a huge benefit and a blessing. Like to your point there about, knowing the bits that when you're in flow and when you're doing great work and that you enjoy, and knowing the bits that you're just not best set up to do. Whether you could do it, that's not really the point. It's is that going to help or get you to the next level type of thing as well. And as well, I think it's true. Like, if you're able to create opportunities for other people that do like doing certain work that I think a lot of people might be like, oh, it's not for me, or it might be time or tiring or even boring or whatever it might be. It doesn't mean it's not right for someone else, It's just one element of it. And in terms of like, obviously, like it's not real life to think that everything's always about, you're always going to be enjoying stuff and you're always, obviously you've come through a journey from straight into leadership from uni, into leadership program, I'm sure full of structure within a massive organisation, global organisation, and then joining like Nike and Apple and different things. Is there anything in particular there that you've learned or that you've been able to take from those experiences that have like really set you up well, and that maybe then that you often impart that advice for other people that are maybe their early 20s or some kind of first coming through, still figuring out what it is that they want to do?
Oh God, there's so much I could say in this question. I think number one is be authentically you. And I was talking to my son about this the other day, actually, because there's so many people copying what someone else is doing, especially nowadays, to get trending.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't even know what's real and what's not anymore. Like, I don't want to hear what one person thinks that everyone's copying. I want to hear what you think. And that was the conversation I was having with my son. So be authentically you, because that's when greatness happens around you, because you attract good people around you, your people around you. That would be lesson number one. Lesson number two, if you're going into leadership, is, for me, the only way of leadership is human-centric leadership. Now, that doesn't mean that you're really nice all the time. You've got to have courage and deliver tough messages. But human-centric leadership, for me, takes two. It's your team, but it's also your customer. And if they're always your priority, then business becomes so much easier. I was actually with a rocket scientist from NASA last week, and I asked him, what's the most challenging part of your job? And he said, actually leading people. But it doesn't, and leading people can be, and this guy, his job is to land rocket ships on the moon, like that, and lead the team that builds those inventions.
And we should say this was when you're in the US, not when you're in Glasgow. Just to clarify for the audience, for sure. Yeah.
But the point is leading people doesn't have to be hard. And Gareth, you're an amazing example of this. Like, I'm around your team every other week, and you empower your people and enable your people to be authentic, to bring their best self to work, to bring their whole self to work, even on the days where they're not at their best. and you lead them through fun, you lead them through clarity, you lead them with development in mind. That you want everybody to do well because you really model that when they're in a great space, then they're going to give everything to your customer as well, right? And for me, that is the biggest lesson, that if somebody wants to go into leadership, really care, deeply, genuinely care about your people and deeply care about your customer, is those two easy principles.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's not, it's the whole thing that not everyone is a leader, not everyone should be a leader, and that's okay.
Yes.
Like I've got some great friends that you know, are really, really sharp guys and girls that are just, they know that they are not right for leading, and I love that they know that. I think that one of the challenges a lot of, certainly probably, I don't want to say younger people, but some people maybe don't have quite the same amount of experience or have maybe been exposed to certain things in business. Like, the assumption is that leading or becoming a leader is the only route to happiness, success, whatever that looks like, whether it be financial, whether it be what. And it is just fundamentally not the case. And I think it is about, and I think the only way to be authentic is to be able to actually like figure out, is this what you want to do? Is this what you enjoy to do? And if it's not, that's okay. Like, don't try and crowbar into something that you're not, because it's so easy to see through those people. Your team see through it, your clients see through it, your whatever, you know, people above and below see through it, and it's difficult for everyone. And certainly from what I've seen, and I think it's tough. And I think, how do you think though, or what recommendations would you make to someone if they're like, oh well, I've got to get into management or leadership to develop and progress in my career? What would you say to those types of people that feel that that's the only route to success, if that makes sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I'm thinking about the crossover between whether it's business, corporate, or sport here. Because let's use sport for a second. How many great players have been promoted to manager because they're a great player?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're automatically going to be a great coach or manager to the club.
Yeah.
And it's the same. We promote individual contributors, which is very different, because actually a great leader doesn't do anymore. They coach, they inspire, they motivate, right? They do different work. They don't get to do the job that they were very skilled at. What advice would I give? I think I question what is it about management that, because it is difficult if you're going to really lead people, especially nowadays where people are expecting a lot from their leader, more than they were when I was an employee, for example. What is it that motivates you? Because if it's only money, for example, and the title, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're going to make being successful at that harder. But if you do want to do it and you want to do it for the right reasons, then... And it was a question I was going to ask you, actually, that I was reflecting on last night. And I've reflected on a lot of times over life, and you've kind of just answered it. Do you feel like, can everybody be a leader? Yes. Can everyone take the lead? Yes. But can everyone be a great leader? No. So if you're on this quest to be a great leader, then investing yourself in learning how to, what I call, hold the masculine and feminine skills. Of masculine is like take action, innovate, be bold, be powerful, be courageous. And then the feminine side is the empathy, the listening, the creativity, the trust, the connection. Because great leaders have both of those. They're not one or the other.
Yeah. No, I think, I definitely agree with that. I think, and I've seen it like time and time again, where, and I think it's often where people, maybe earlier on in their career, and again, it's more often that they've maybe not had exposure to where business could lead to, or what potential opportunities may be further down the track. So they see only one role and think, oh, well, that's my next role, and that's the only option ever. And I think as you get a little bit older and a bit more experienced and just been around a bit longer, you then very quickly say, well, it just doesn't work like that. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, you know, sometimes actually taking your time and just being patient and enjoying what you do. Yeah. Now, as a very impatient person, I find that part hard. And all of my previous leaders will be like, yeah, 100%, what a nightmare. Which is probably why entrepreneurship was the right option for me in the end. But I think it's like, you know, it's trying to enjoy what you do like day to day. And it's, I think, you know, obviously we talk a lot, and it's like, that's where I find that people actually end up finding a bit more happiness and contentment, if that's the right word. Because I think, like, you know, you just fundamentally, like, you don't go into every single day thinking, shit, right, what's next? Okay, I've got that promotion, right, what's next? And that's how my mind worked when I was in the kind of corporate world. And there was certain things that maybe helped there, because I was just always pushing for the next bit, and I was always keen to take on more. I was always developing further. I was always listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, whatever it might have been, having good mentors, speaking to people, asking questions. But like, if you're not prepared to do all of that stuff as well as, and you just want the role and the title and maybe the money that comes with it, yeah, to your point, I think you're going to end up really pretty stressed and sad, ultimately, and or find yourself quitting stuff and giving up when you shouldn't have. Maybe that didn't have to be the outcome. It's maybe what I would see. And in terms of like,
can I just add something there, Gareth, actually?
Sure.
Because I think your 20s is the key time to master your craft. And that is the time where you know what I'm about. You can 100x your life without losing yourself and working, especially as you get to our age, because you've done, like, you and I have done all of that in our very younger ages. But we've become conditioned that that's the only way to achieve success, which it isn't.
No.
And actually, it's actually the opposite. I believe that you work less and you achieve more, but you're very intentional with what you're doing. But actually, in your 20s, like, knuckle down and master what it is that you were put on this planet to do, and become an expert in it. But at the same time, which is what we didn't know because it wasn't out there for us then, is be present in this current moment and be present in who you are, and don't get lost in the achievement, because that's where you can get addicted to success the same way you can get addicted to drugs or alcohol. It's no different. One is slightly less harmful for you than the others, but they have the same, we're craving it in the same way. But actually, if you're really connected to who I am regardless of, and then are able to go all in younger, then you're setting yourself up for, like, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and I think as well, some of the stuff I see a lot of at the moment, and maybe for quite a while, is like people trying to really shortcut the system. And it's like, you know, and I even see even people in our world and my kind of like the sales and marketing side of things, and you know, they'll even try and like hit us up and stuff to try and maybe provide services without looking at what we do. And they'll be like, oh, we can do this. And then you kind of look back and you're like, and it's not all about experience, right? But you do sometimes want to look like, okay, well, let's see what they've done. And it's not necessarily a judgment, but I think it's important to see. And like, there's either like no experience, and that's not always a kind of precursor to not being successful, but it's like, I think people often try to watch something on YouTube, recreate it, or copy it, to your point earlier, so it's complete phony anyway, so they literally know nothing about anything because they've just followed a video and like, let's just wing it and see if somebody will pay me some money. Then they're never going to have a good relationship with a client or a customer in any way, shape or form, because it's all nonsense. And then they just keep trying to do that, and it almost becomes like this real shady element to whatever, you know, and because it's just built on bullshit. And I think so much of that then stems back to like your point in like your 20s is like mastering the craft, learning and getting the reps in almost, you know, build that resilience, build that experience, make mistakes, have fun with it, get fucking good at what you do.
Yes.
And then like you've then always got that to fall back on. So it's even like when I started the business, I was like, well, worst case scenario, I'll go and get another job because I know I'm fucking good at what I do. So it's like that was my, whereas if I was maybe much and I hadn't had those years of reps, it's like, well, I don't then maybe have that same peace of mind that I'm like, well, okay, well, maybe I will, you know, and I'll maybe bounce around or whatever. It's like, well, no, this is the worst case scenario here. So like, let's roll the dice on it. And I think that's where, like, when you get into your, and this isn't also, I want to be clear, like, it's not for like older people like you and I to be like, oh yeah, when you're younger you can't do anything, because that's not true, right? And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say you're older or what's it. Got to be really careful here. Maybe we need to edit this out. But my point is, like, it's not trying to be like, oh, now that you know, I'm nearly 40 and different things. It's like you look back and like, you know, in your 20s and stuff, because lots of people will be like, well, that's bullshit, I've done really well. And it's not to take anything away from it. But those people I believe that have done really, really well have put so much work into it at an early age to do really well. Even, I mean, a really extreme example and a really obviously massive example is the likes of Mr. Beast, the guy, the YouTube guy, right? So, I mean, massive success, unbelievable success, right? Yeah. But what I found really, really interesting was actually, I read it originally from a book you'd recommended to me, which name escapes me, but it talks a lot about how him and his friends basically had spent like thousands and thousands of hours perfecting what they do and how they do it and who they do it for, to master the craft. And that's what's created such a valuable media empire. And it's like, but someone not doing the digging will just think, oh, they became overnight successes and they're now worth tens of billions or whatever. It's just not realistic. And you look at any significantly successful person, the experience and the wealth, if that's the measure you look at, or whether it's happiness or whatever, has been built over time.
100%.
Not overnight. And I think that's the really important kind of take. But
yeah, it's playing the long game, isn't it? Right?
100%.
I think, and it's really clear that what you're not saying is people need to have studied for 25 years before they could pursue a dream. No, but it's being patient, that not every person's success, but it's easy to see on the surface. Or Mr. Beast did one video, it went viral. No, that's not true.
No.
There's a lot of hardship that goes in before that. And I love now that people that have made it in whatever capacity that means for them are talking about, you know, you even see the athletes that say, oh, I've missed this many shots. And all the ones that I hit, all the hours that went in the background. And that's what you're describing there is like, it's a long game, and can you stay in high performance even in those moments where it's the hardest it's ever been. Yeah.
And I actually saw on LinkedIn, it was one of those I think ad pages I follow, and it was talking about like really successful and well-known brands and people that started those brands that didn't start till what's perceived maybe as a later age. So for example, I think Ralph Lauren started when he was 41 or 42. Look where he is now. I mean, you know, I don't think anyone's not heard of Ralph Lauren. Same with Adidas, same with KFC. I think Colonel Sanders was like, what, 62 or something like that? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to write them all off, but it shows, I think, as well, like, it humanises the reality of what it takes to be successful in whatever it is you want to achieve. And again, it's not just a financial success metric, but just in general. And maybe it's more like around freedoms or whatever, but I think those people that try and suggest that you do one course, and that these things drive me mad, these master classes or courses drive me fucking mad. It's like you do that one thing, you pay somebody that has got no experience in any of it at all and has never done it before. You pay them thousands of pounds, then overnight, over a weekend, you become a huge fucking success. It's bollocks. And these types of people make it really difficult, I find, for those that are actually genuinely trying to do great work for great people over time. Because that's the noise you have to cut through. Which is frustrating, as you can maybe hear. And in terms of, so when you look back at like, you know, your 20s and early 30s and things, is there any advice that you would give yourself that for based on where you are right now, that maybe someone that's listening to this could take on, that's maybe in their 20s and 30s, whether you're not in your 30s?
I am still in my 20s. What are you talking about?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Up here.
It's vodka.
What advice would I give myself? Do you know what? I'd probably go a bit younger than that, because that's where our belief system was born.
Yeah.
And I would say, I would say life is an adventure, first of all. And I would say on a deep level, I would say, for me personally, I would say you are loved, you are important, and you are enough. And then on a top line level, I would say what I've said throughout today of be authentic. Remember who you are and trust your inner wisdom. Your inner wisdom and your gut, as we call it, is never, ever wrong. And the only moments that you'll make painful mistakes are when you don't trust your gut. So always do that, because
Yeah.
you can't ever look. I don't believe in regrets, right? But it's like, if I look back and think the most painful lessons that I've learned, because failure for me is not what conventionally we're taught. Failure for me
Yeah.
is, did I have to learn the same lesson repeatedly?
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise I see them as gifts. You know, they might be painful gifts, but they are lessons that have helped me develop and enhance who I am or what I do. But actually, the only times that they've really stung is when I didn't trust my inner wisdom and my gut.
Okay. Interesting. Is there any particular like trends you're seeing in your industry or in business in general that's kind of either changed in the last maybe 12 months or even, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, the speed in which tech and AI has been around for years, but it's obviously spoken about in a
Yeah.
very different capacity now. And a lot of processes and everything is becoming automated. Now, there's some people, I believe there's a space for AI in every business. What I feel is really important is moral AI. And what I also feel is every leader's responsibility is to even like knuckle down and bed in on connection. Because what I'm seeing and hearing a lot about, two things are great individuals not learning and knowing how to play together as a team is actually negatively impacting business. And the other thing is loneliness, especially with hybrid working and remote working, as well as people actually having human connection and knowing
Yeah.
how to connect with people that is good for our well-being. They're two things that, as we're moving even into a faster world where everything is available now and quicker and easier,
Yeah.
as a leader, how do you embrace the paradox of this while slowing down the people and the human side of it? That would be what I'm hearing and what I'm really, really passionate and curious about.
Yeah.
What about in your world? What are you hearing from people that you're interacting with? Because they're coming from a very different angle, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we work with companies that like specifically in kind of B2B space that are looking to grow effectively. There's no doubt tech and AI are almost in every single conversation. We work with we work mainly with tech companies, not solely, but mainly, and a lot of AI organizations as well. And I think some of the tech is incredible and is already showing some massive success and adding huge value to other organizations. Some of it's not there yet. I think also people are trying to crowbar certain things in that I don't necessarily think is right, and almost trying to, anywhere possible, remove that human element, which I don't think is right. And almost to try and shortcut success again. Like, so it's, I'm going to try this AI and then I'm going to get rid of 10 people. And you're like, really? Like, maybe you want to think that one through a little bit further, and I think like, I don't see that. And there'll be elements, I think, to AI that will just completely, because there's so much failure on it, will just stop getting tested and trialed anymore by companies. So that I think people really need to be careful about what they're building and making sure it's actually of quality and like you said, delivering value for clients. But then even more generally, business-wise, I think we're seeing, things like sales and marketing is busier than it's ever been. With the massive impact of AI and spamming and all that kind of bots and stuff, like it's made it even more difficult to become or to be successful in sales and marketing. So you have to be constantly evolving and getting better and better. We're seeing that a lot, and that's something that we're really passionate about here at ORRJO, is like we're constantly challenging ourselves about how we can add more value and stuff, because I think that some of this stuff is just to completely change the game and not in a good way. And then I think moreover, I think you look at even things like the sales cycles and all these different things, everything's just taking that bit longer. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And I think that you've got to be really careful in who you choose as a partner and as a from an organisational perspective. And I think people are being a lot more, rightfully so, careful about who they're choosing to work with. More so than, and that could be with technology, that could be like in our business in terms of like as a sales and marketing organisation, people are a lot more thorough in doing stuff, which is rightly, as I say, so, but because so much of it doesn't work and people are so badly burned by what they've tried in the past. And if they don't get it right this time, they'll probably just be like, I'm just never ever going to do it again. So you've got to be really careful. So these are some of the stuff that we've seen, but like the world of sales and marketing literally has changed, in my opinion, more in the last 2 or 3 years than it has in the 15 plus years I've been involved in it. And if you still are trying to sell or market like you did 5, 10, 15 years ago, you are so unlikely to do well. Like it's not even, but like you need to modernise what you do and how you do it, or you will fall if you've not already. And I think that's definitely what we're seeing massively. So, but I think for those that are really passionate and driven to evolve, develop, pivot where they have to, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible, the opportunity is massive because there's so much shit out there. There is so much shit out there. So if you're good at what you're doing, like you said before, like you care about the clients, you care about your people, then everything takes care of itself.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to worry about the other bits, the noise around it. You take care of those two components, the business just grows and the trajectory is going to be phenomenal, is what we've seen.
100%. And actually, I just want to say here that what I'm seeing, and I know there's loads more you want to bring in with AI and systemizing ORRJO, but you do use it. You use it in the sense of you have a human approach to marketing. And I felt the benefit of that as well, right? Whenever you've invited me in to join as a guest in whatever capacity, but you use the systems to do the work that anyone can do.
Yeah.
But you use your humans and your team and your people that you care so deeply about to do the work that only they can do, which is why you're so successful for yourself, but also for your clients, because that's becoming more rare.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that we're actually removing the human element too much. But actually what I love you're doing is going against the norm and sticking with what I believe is the right to do in using the processes in the background to enable your people to do what they can only do. And I love this. And we do live in a different world.
The hardest thing I find is like is not commenting on everyone's post on LinkedIn when they're talking about all the noise and the nonsense. I'm like, don't nibble, don't nibble. That's I've got some kind of make sure I don't do that, but I do sometimes though because I can't help it, because everybody's just trying to. It's like almost like a get rich quick scheme almost, because they're trying to just bypass like. And they just don't even apply. I don't know. That's what I see a lot of anyway. And you're right. Like we use AI throughout the business, and we have done for the last few years. And we're constantly looking at the best in class tech and being really ruthless about what we have and what we don't have, what we need, what we don't need, to make sure that we're as efficient as we can be. Because we're still a small business that is growing, but so we don't have like endless budgets. So we've got to be careful. We've got to do it in the right way. But that makes us even more, I think, dangerous, because like we are literally ruthless with what we do and how we do it. And I think that you made a point there a second ago about like remote working, hybrid working, all that kind of stuff. Now we are primarily an office first company. We offer obviously flex where people need it to whether people need to be at home for anything or what commitments they've got. But generally speaking, we are in the office at least 4 days. Some of the guys come in 5 days a week because they just enjoy it, and they enjoy that people connection. They enjoy that development and stuff. And there is no doubt, and I will argue with anyone about this and debate it with anyone that feels that they could do the same amount remote than you could, as you do with in the office with people, being able to, solve a problem immediately, jump on a whiteboard and be, you can do that in a call. No, you fucking can't. You get a part of that, right? And like we, so that's why we invest a lot in like the culture, the environment, the office space, the, creating, a fun environment to come to and stuff, because that's the people bit. you look after that bit, then it takes care of the client bit. And again, we talk about that whole
I want to stress there that you are really flexible. It's not black and white, right? And it is and you're really honest from the recruitment process that we work in the office, but actually you are flexible when the team needs you to be. But what you've done really well, and you're too humble, I tell you this all the time, is you've created an environment where the team want to come in. And that doesn't mean you haven't got slides going through the office that some people have invested in. You've created it that it's, if I come next week and there's a slide.
I know.
But you've
landlord going mad.
You get fresh fruit delivered every week, and that's because that's what the team want first, and you get pizza.
I think it's more like lunches on Thursdays. I think that's it. The fresh fruit's good for some of the real gym folk, but I think the majority is like,
but it's, and you've got a run club, like you've created this community feel that's authentic. People are developing, people are there, they're friends. Like I saw that at the birthday bash a few weeks ago. The team, and you can't fake that. The team love being around one another and benefit from that, and that's the culture that all of you have created, but you've led that. So that's why it's better for you to be in the office.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, to be honest, the days I try to work from home, I get told to leave the house and then have to come in anyway. So,
it's more about you than
exactly. So, and I love it. Like, I mean, I love helping people and developing people and supporting them. And again, that's the bit that I get, the buzz from. And then the result of that, hopefully we do amazing work, and, and it all kind of goes round in circles. So, and is there anything that, you feel that, again, like, as you look maybe forward now into like kind of like, obviously you're building your business, which is amazing. You're working with some incredible clients. And, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll head out the wink. Is there anything there though, like, that you're really excited about? That kind of, I know there's tons, but is there any specifics that come to mind about like looking forward to the future that you're working on right now or you're building?
Yes, but I can't share.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some really, really cool stuff, both personally for me, and professionally, because for me they go hand in hand, because I love what I do, and it's in sport in particular. And that doesn't mean that I'm backing away from business or corporate, but I'm doing some really cool stuff which will be revealed soon. But the long-term goal for me is actually some clarity. That's still really messy when I'm saying clarity. Is I know I'm in my purpose, and I'm going to talk about a book I'd recommend in a second, actually. But I know there's another level of greatness for me in that I'm ready to play with, and that for me is going to be, it's a separate business, and it might be non-profit, but it's on this another level of leaving the world better. So me building the business, loving what I do, and having the impact I have enables me to do something completely separate that is another level of impact, which I'm so excited about. And I'm not 100% clear on what that is yet, and that's okay.
Yeah. Cool. And so obviously, like anyone kind of listening to your journey, obviously I'm sure there's been lots of challenges along the way, like for everyone, but it's been pretty consistently successful, right? You've kind of gone from uni to leadership program to large corporate organizations like Nike and Apple, which would be for some the dream to work with, and then starting your business, which has gone from strength to strength, and some really exciting stuff coming. Like, is there anything or any advice that you would give someone, or anything like tactically that people should be doing or implementing like immediately to give them a chance to do some stuff that's maybe similar? Because they might be reading this thinking, fuck, there's no way I could do that. Like, she's obviously just levels from where I'm from or whatever. Is there anything in particular that you would focus on, or any advice you'd give?
Yeah, and actually I want to say I am from a working class background, and I'm self-made, and I credit a lot to my dad, and my dad did make a really successful business, but where I learned what I've learned, and my dad always made me work for it. So even when we had money in the bank and we could live a different lifestyle, I still had to buy them. If I wanted nice school shoes, I had to pay for them myself. So it wasn't given to me, so to speak. And I recognize I'm still really privileged in comparison to others. But I feel it's really important for people to understand that, because I've worked hard in what I love to do so that it doesn't always feel like work. I can't stress this enough, and I feel this would have got me to a different level, even though I'm really grateful for where I'm at, is this balance of playing. And I am really energized, and I know you are too, Gareth, by if someone tells me something's impossible, then I'm like, let's fucking go then, because I love and I'm inspired by people that like to do things that no one else has done and have loads of fun along the way. So connect to what it is. What does that mean for you? What would you love to spend your time in if you were blue sky thinking in anything where possible? And then really connect to, well, who am I and what strengths do I already have? What's missing from my toolkit? How can I learn to develop that? And the other thing I would say, and I'm not saying this from even what I do, but invest in yourself. Like, how often do people invest in clothes or a car or a holiday, whether they're searching for happiness through that or whether they're working so hard to buy something material, whereas actually you could invest in here or your physical self, whatever it looks like. And that will actually keep your mind healthier, keep your body healthier, and get you to a more authentic level of happiness, which then gets you to where you want to be. That you can still buy all the nice stuff, but the investing in self is critical over investing in a new outfit. That is probably the biggest wisdom. But go for it. You said it earlier, roll the dice, because the worst that could happen, you roll it and you can pivot. There's always a pivot.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? It's not like you get knocked down, dust off, and fucking go again.
100%.
Just come out swinging. And in terms of, you know, you mentioned books there and stuff that you'd recommend. Have you got any books or podcasts you'd recommend for anyone listening?
Yeah, I feel like I might sneeze, so bear with me.
That's okay.
I've got loads of books. I'll mention a few. I'm reading this at the moment, which has been on my bookshelf.
Oh, yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
Ikigai. I don't know whether you've read it, but it's a Japanese book about the secret.
I've read parts of it.
Yeah, it's a really easy read, and I'm nearly finished. But it's basically about connecting you to your purpose, and I felt it was really relevant to today because it's about your physical health. It's about what diet, sleep, etc. But it's also about doing what you love and being in your purpose. So for people that are listening that are like, I still don't know what that means for me. I've got tools that I'll share, no problem. But also this is a great book. If you're in business and you're like, I want to scale my business, I want to do something that's impossible, but I'm stuck in the now. One of my favorite books is 10X is Easier Than 2X. That's the book that you were referring to before. I love Legacy for Leadership. It's a classic. And then for customer service, Unreasonable Hospitality. I love it. There's loads I could mention, but actually they're the ones that I go to most frequently.
Nice.
The Power of Now, there's another one. I could keep going. Stop.
We keep going. And any podcasts you'd recommend?
Yeah. I mean, I listen to the conventional ones like High Performance, and I love Stephen Bartlett. But actually the one that I go to most frequently, especially if somebody's really starting off their journey on emotional regulation and learning how to master what they think and how they feel, it's on Stephen Bartlett's, but it's about 4 years old. And it's by Mo Gawit, and he talks about happiness, and it approaches it from an engineering logical perspective without it going too scientific, but it's so brilliant on getting started on this journey, and it's one that I will frequently share when I first meet with people.
Nice. Yeah. No, I've listened to that one as well. It's a good one. And where else would people kind of go then to learn a bit more about Coach to Growth or yourself? Where would you send them?
I would send them to my LinkedIn, and I would send them to my website, so coachtogrowth.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn as Nicky Brown. And yeah, there's loads more. I don't have my own podcast, and I love to be a guest rather than the host, which is different in life. Actually, I'm normally the other way around. But yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Nice. Well, look, Nicky, thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it all.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.